Hey everybody, Jamie Pate here. Welcome to a very special video. I'm calling this video Card Basics. It's a free mini class in celebration of World Card Making Week. Yes! Those of us who are paper craft artists, we dabble in all the things, right? And cards included. So let's get started. Can't wait to show you what I got. All right, friends, here in my hot little hand, I have this Art Options Spice 6x6 paper pack. This is only available at ScrapbookCom, and it is a beauty. A lot of you, I know, are fans of 49 and Market, so I know you're going to love this. Okay, let's take a look at the patterns in here really quick. Of course, on the back of the package page, you get these little extra embellishments. You can fussy cut those out and they go a long way. I love those. Look at these patterns. So there's a total of 24 papers and there are a total of 2 patterns for each of the papers. You're going to see some repeats here as I go through this. Look at that deal. I don't want to spend a lot of time on showing off the papers because I want to get to the cards / tags that I have to share with you today. But I did want to show you at least how rich and beautiful this Art Options Spice is. It is absolutely gorgeous. And you know, if you have hoarding issues, what's so great about this is that there are 2 patterns of everything. So that works out just fine for us, doesn't it now? Okay. And then there's some solids here in the back, which is fantastic. I'm just geeking over this green right here. Makes me think of evergreen bough. And here's the other side of it. Then we got this rich pink. It's so beautiful. And here for the purples, let me show you that side. All right. Okay, let's get started with the first card / tag. Okay, what do I mean by card / tags? Because this first one is a tag. Here's the thing about tags. I love making cards. I've made cards for years. It was actually one of the first things that I ever did was card making. But I also really love tags. I love the handiness of tags, the fact that they can be great clustered elements for a scrapbook page. They can be card fronts. They can be the gift. Tags are fantastic. What you're going to need for this first little tag that we're going to do, and this is some super basic stuff. We're going to obviously need the 6x6, and I am going to go with this pattern, and I'm going to use this pattern. I have grabbed the Cozy Foliage dies. We're going to need those for our elements. This is a gratitude stamp. It also comes with dies. We're going to use one of these for our sentiments, and believe it or not, we're going to use this yellow. I think we can make this yellow work. Okay, so to start, I'm going to trim this paper down to 3 inches wide. And this will be saved for something else. Okay. The wonderful thing about the Sizzix board that I have here is I can move this to 45 degrees and I can trim my tag right inside here, which I love because I cannot make straight angles. I can't cut anything straight. The bottom of my tag is sitting here at 8.5, and I'm going to take off this top corner here. Just like that. You turn it over and do the same thing. Line up that bottom corner right there with the 8.5. Hold everything down and just slip that. Now this would be a beautiful tag. And I still have this over here, so I could very well definitely use that for a very beautiful tag. But since I am going to use the front, that makes a beautiful home for a sentiment. Just thought I'd share that with you. The next thing I'm going to do is going to take the Cozy Foliage dies and this pattern paper and make some leaves. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, I thought I'd go ahead and do this here on my workspace. I have the magic mat. Nice, fresh mat there. And one of the things I want to make sure I pointed out to you is when I cut from pattern paper like this, I trim out the exact size that I need. And I'm a bits and pieces kind of gal. So I don't mind saving bits and pieces. When I am all done, I will then put them in a storage envelope, a ScrapbookCom storage envelope, and save those bits and pieces for another project, another page, another tag. You get the idea. So I think I'm only going to want 3 tags. And this was fun to cut this right with just a little bit of pattern. Okay, so these I'm going to start just kind of setting these in place. I think I want just one more, and I just want only the what do I say? Only the solid part. So, gratitude sentiment, my goodness, this set has been out for a little bit now, but I find myself reaching for it quite often. And I think I really love this yellow with it. We're going to try. If we don't like it, we'll use something else. So while that is still sitting on its paper pad, I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp. I'm using ground espresso distress oxide. I'm going to come in here a little bit because I might want to notch the end. All right, grateful for you. So I didn't mention that in the beginning that we were going to use that oxide. So that's another one of the supplies, which will be listed in the description box. So I would love for you to click through. And if you are interested in any of these supplies today, remember that the 6x6 paper is a free gift today at ScrapBook.com. All right, one of my go-tos is just kind of notch the end. I think it helps give it a bit of a finished look. I then like to fold the end. So I just wanted to give it a straight fold. Let me get these extra pieces out of the way. See, I think it works. Okay, while we are kind of letting that simmer for a minute, which I very often do, I'm going to grab the solid orange. And by solid, it means it doesn't have a real distinct pattern on it. I'm going to punch this in a circle. And again, I'm going to kind of use my stamp block here to give that a straight crease. And that's what I'm going to use for my reinforcer. I'm not going to punch a hole in this. Then taking a mini attacher, just go right up there, and that is now in place. Okay, I had as part of our supplies the yellow smooth cardstock, but I've changed my mind. I am going to use this for our sentiment. I just think it blends in a little better. I tried though, and it's fun to try. It's fun to find other elements and see if they'll work with patterns and collections, and I just decided against this. But I have grabbed this ground espresso distress oxide. I'm going to come here on this little bit lighter bit right here and stamp down my sentiment. I'm just going to trim this now, and then I'll show you what I'll do next. Okay, so at this point I have the double-sided adhesive foam squares here, and we're just going to, oops, yeah, good. I thought I had two of the same. We're just going to get these in place. I love to have floating elements, and I think while the patterns here are super rich and gorgeous, I think it is a fun, very simple tag to make by having die cuts and then a sentiment. So I put the solid in the back, the pattern with a little bit of pattern here, and then the bigger pattern is going to be here on somehow layered on the top. Don't even know how yet. We're just kind of playing with it until we say, oh, I like that. And I think it's going to go right there. I kind of entangled it inside the stems there, and it's right where I want it. So now, and I'm going to lift up those edges just a little bit to give it even a bit more float. Then we're going to use the same foam squares here and attach this probably right about, ooh, I don't hate that at all, but we'll see. See, I'm just kind of moving this around until again I go, oh, I like that. And that is a very simple way to take this pattern and make a tag. You could notch the end, you could trim it a little bit shorter, you could put this on a card front, you could put a ribbon on it and put it on a gift, and there is our first tag. Okay, for my next card, I'm grabbing the scalloped slimline dies and the pinks, and this time I'm actually going to use the pinks cardstock because I think there's colors in here that look so pretty. This, remember, when we cut this off, now we're going to use it for another card. You're going to see how that's going to come together. I have one of the dies from the Cozy Foliage, and then I have a couple of elements from the Plum Grove. I'm also going to want this pattern probably for my leaves, and then the So Grateful for So Much. So to start, we're going to make a base, and we're going to make a base with the pink. And I think I decided, let me look again. I think I decided on this one. So grabbing a piece of that, I'm going to take the larger of the scallops. And although it is shorter, I'm sorry, it's actually, the paper's shorter than it is, I'm still going to make use of it. So remember how I like to just cut what I actually need, so I don't want this extra piece of paper to be on here. I will store it with my pinks cardstock and use it another time. And so let's do that. Let's cut some things out. So I'm going to cut out my card base, if I can get a hold of it here. So set that aside. Next thing we'll go ahead and trim out is a part of the pattern paper from Spice. There we go. Take off the mint tape there. Set that aside. You can use that again. See, I just love when things all in and of themselves are just so beautiful. So in a minute we will trim this down, but that's basically what our base and top of our card is going to look like. But since we still have the die cutting machine out, let's go ahead and make use of that, grabbing our cozy foliage, trim off what I need here. Looks good together, you know, kind of like that. All right, gonna get this out of our way. I'm a fan of the cozy foliage, that is for sure. So I'm gonna need to grab the scoreboard again, and I just basically am going to eyeball this. Now, it's hard to see along here, but we do have measurements, and in real time I can completely see it. Now this is going to be a 5-inch card. If I go ahead and score that right there, which I'm going to do. So then this won't quite be at 5, but I am going to set it up here at the 1/2 inch. My half inch mark is right there, and I'm going to come here. I'm going to actually go right here on the scallop. And then what's going to happen here is I'll trim the rest of that off, because this is actually going to be my card. This will be attached to the back, and this is going to flip up and the note can be inside. So I'm just going to trim this down where the fold mark was, and I'm going to wrap this around using the dot roller adhesive. And I could have trimmed that earlier, but I just wasn't quite sure. Did I want it completely trimmed? Did I want to have the fold as part of the card? And sometimes as you're making a card, you're discovering what you want. You have an idea, but sometimes things just evolve, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And sometimes you then discover a different way to do a thing. So what's going to happen now is we're going to kind of lay our embellishments. I love that this is hanging over, it's still inside, and you can use the Sizzix board to craft an envelope, and you'll be able to craft an envelope perfect for this size. Okay, I have my elements layered pretty close to how I'm going to want them when we get ready to complete this card. I'm going to use my scrap. I already have mounted So Grateful for So Much on this stamp pad. I'm sorry, on this stamp block. And so I'm just going to pop it right here. And actually what I want this time is just the So Grateful. So all you have to do is just trim that right off, sort of kind of like a journal strip or a small phrase sticker. You kind of get to make your own when you go about it this way. So that's what I decided I wanted. Okay, so let's start getting these all in place. I'm going to move everything back off. I'm going to grab my art glue and probably going to cut a little bit of the stem off. I don't think I need all of that. And I'm just going to add glue here towards the bottom of the stem. Going to lay that back down. And I am completely okay with this overlapping, like all the parts, the top, the side, even the bottom here a little bit. And that glue is going to dry clear. And I'm actually going to just put this stamp block on here to keep this flat while we are in the midst here. I'm trying to decide if I want this to be flat or if I want to give it a little bit of elevation. And as I'm telling you what I'm thinking about doing, I just went ahead and put a square foam adhesive on the back. Kind of how I fly sometimes. Let's see here. I think I want to take my scissors actually and just give this a little bit of texture on the edges. The cardstock has a white core, which I love because I love to be able to see that dimension. And we probably could have even, and I'm probably going to, as I say, we probably could have even adhered this to another piece of cardstock. And I have a scrap right here. So we're going to do just that, just to give it a little bit more strength. And I don't want it to appear as though it is too, what do I want to say, flimsy? So yeah, I like that. So it's almost like making your own cardstock pieces, right? I think I'm going to use a dab of glue on the back. It doesn't need a lot of glue. That way it can just kind of sit on top and we'll just let that dry. I'm going to move it over a little bit. I don't want it completely in the center. And then we still have left here is this heart. It has a pattern on it from the Plum Grove, but I still think it works. So I'm going to put glue on this chipboard circle, and then I'm going to layer the heart to it. Oh, you know what I'm going to do actually? We're going to put that So Grateful so that it comes up. See, sometimes this takes a minute to figure out. While there's formulas for this, and I share that on my channel, at the same time, you just don't always know until you're in the midst of a thing and you start playing with it. So that's how that looks. I think it's beautiful. These colors are so gorgeous. I'm going to let that set aside and dry, and that's our second card. Any time of year is a great time of year for making cards. It doesn't have to be fall, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It has to just be an occasion. Has to be somebody that comes to mind. Has to be someone who needs to know that you love them or that you are thankful for them. It's any manner of reason why you would send a card. So just because I am vibing here with all of the fall, that's because we're celebrating Art Options Spice, right? So any time of year is the right time of year to make a card. Let's break this down. I've grabbed the Roses smooth cardstock because I thought this color here was fantastic with this pattern here. So I am going to start by trimming a piece of this Roses cardstock to 4.5 inches wide. And I'm going to score this, but while I'm in trim mode, I am going to trim off this right side here to about 1 3/4. Those measurements are down here. So right there is 1 3/4. And that's what I need. Okay, so let's move this to score mode. And I am going to score this at 3 inches. This card is going to be 3 inches wide. Kind of call this a panel card because we're basically crafting a panel, if you will. It's kind of skinny, but again, this board here, you can make any size envelope that your heart desires. I think we're done with the cutting. I'm going to go ahead and adhere my panel to the flap of my card here. And I mentioned, I believe before, creating embellished clusters. I have a series here on my channel that talks about creating embellished clusters. We're going to do a simplified format of that today. With this scrap piece from our scalloped card, I'm going to just cut a single leaf. Great reason to hang on to your scraps. See how pretty that is? This is from Autumn Leaves. It's a great die set as well. So I'll set that aside. I think I'm done with our die cutting now. So I'm going to gather our elements here. So we have our card base, we have the panel, we have an embellishment. I'm going to use this It's Fall Y'all little cutout. Looks like an envelope. It's just adorable, which I was tempted to make an envelope, but we'll have to save that for another day. But I want this to be part of the background for our clustered embellishment. So that's gonna sit there. Oh, I do need one more die cut. I'll be right back while I cut that. So I cut out a circle label and it's going to layer there. My leaf's gonna layer on top. I'm gonna dive into these cutaways here again and grab this little ticket. And once I get this, it shows it to have its edges kind of roughed up a little bit, so we're going to do that. But just trim all of those edges off, then you just have this great embellishment element. So I'm just going to take the edge of my scissors here and just kind of rough that up a little bit. Just kind of make it look like a old-fashioned vintagey ticket. And this guy, he's going to go right there. So that is the level of my embellishments here. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take our stapler, staple through everything, and that just kind of automatically gives it a little bit of a floaty effect because it's only adhered in that one place there. Grabbing our square foam adhesives, I'm going to adhere this panel, our little small cluster panel, right here on the edge. I want it to overlap. There we go. I'm coming back in here with this embellished cluster, and you see I have grabbed this gratitude stamp because I believe I want to bring this in here and I want to make sure it will clear. And so it sounds like I'm going backwards by having this piece already on here, but let me show you how this is going to work. Okay, I've grabbed the new Quartz Misty, and I'm just going to get this in place here. And probably might need a little bit more mint tape here so I can just make sure this stays flat on its surface. I'm going to line up the gratitude. I don't mind that this G is coming off just a little bit. I'm just going to check because you can see that. Ooh, I think I'm really going to like this. Okay, I have grabbed the wild, oh, what's it called? Picked raspberry. I was going to say wild raspberry. And it's a color that's very complementary of the Art Option Spice. So if you don't have that color, you might want to grab it for other things that you're going to be making with this collection. All right, let's see what we think. See how subtle it is? You might not be able to see it in the screen, but it is there. And I like that it just gives me a little pop of color, which totally matches into here. And it doesn't yell gratitude. We could have done it in brown. Would have been beautiful. I just kind of like this whole subtle thing going on here. All right, we're going to add one more sentiment to this card. I have grabbed this High Fall. I know, I just gush about all these stamps, but they are just fantastic. So I have grabbed this 1/8 inch strip of double-sided adhesive foam. Fits there perfectly. And now just where do we want to put it? I love it. I love it. There you go. There's card number 3. Thank you so much for watching this video today. This little card basic free class. I appreciate you so much being here. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave any questions you might have in the comments below. All supplies are listed below. I do appreciate when you click through. And that Art Options Spice 6x6 paper pack, it's a free gift, friends. Don't miss out on that. And I will see you in the next video.